when the construction regulation is applicable. Yeah. But we're going to discuss that quickly. Okay. Are we ready? Great stuff. Hello guys. Welcome to our safety talk. First one after COVID. We're extremely excited to have you guys all here. And I know there's a lot of people online. So also for those people, welcome. We are looking forward to your comments. You're welcome to make some comments so that we can address that. We would like to have the experience that you guys are here as well. But for the guys that came through, there's always a surprise when you guys are here. There's cool drink. And we printed your documents for you. Okay, good. I would like to introduce our Chief Inspector for the Ethekwini area, Mthobisi. Please, you can, just people can see you. We would like to, Mthobisi and I, we've got a long history. We actually met on site, and so we've got personal experience about each other. What I do like about Mthobisi is he actually embodies the spirit of Department of Labour, and that is to make sure that nobody gets injured. So this is extremely powerful to have him here, because now you can ask your questions directly, and we would love to answer them. Okay, great stuff. Thank you very much for coming through. We appreciate it. The floors are yours. Remember, you can't walk around like normal. You have to stand here.
Good day, everyone. Afternoon. Yes, I'm okay, and you? I feel bullied today because my movement is restricted. Those that know me, they know that I love moving around because I love interactive types of sessions. I don't carry these overhead what because I want to interact with you. I want to speak about this thing, so this thing you can understand what you are speaking about when you are speaking about health and safety, right? So everyone that is here is involved with health and safety in some way. Are we in the right place? Yes. Oh, thank you. More like it. Basically, there's three things. How much time are you giving me first? I need to know that.
You've got about, I know to give you an hour, I'll have to tell you 45 minutes.
Okay. So how much do I have?
You've got a max an hour.
Max an hour. All right. I'll try to be. The most unfortunate part about what we administer as the Department of Labour and Occupational Health and Safety put together. If we had to have a discussion on this, we'll probably be here for the whole day, and we'll also need some other days as well, because the scope is so broad, right? So what I'll do in as far as our activities as Department of Labour and the scope or the layout of occupational health and safety and the end itself, I'll try to summarize it in the 1 hour that Gert has given me. I'll probably need less than that. So, as I've been introduced, we met under bad situations, but we ended up having a very good relationship after that. My name is Mthobisi Madlala from the Department of Labour. I am an inspector, right? But the show of hands, tell me, how many of you guys have had inspections at your premises or facilities or sites or wherever you may be? That's good.
Good job.
That's good. And how was the experience? Okay, there's a nga there. There's another nga here. There's two ngas there at the back. You're not sure? All right. It just was okay. And for you? You haven't had an inspection yet? Inspection? Okay. Thank you. So, basically, the main thing today is to give you a layout of the Department of Labour. That's number one. Number two, the objectives and your obligation. All right. And try to summarize some of the things that have been problematic, if I may use that word, or even for the lack of words, when we go out and do our inspection. Right? Okay, I heard Gert asking if everyone here is from construction. I had a response saying the aircon construction. I've never heard of that. But you always learn. Do you install or manufacture aircons? Install. Oh, okay. Also, when you're summarizing it, you say aircon construction.
I said air conditioning, but Kat said anything that, that would fall under construction.
Yeah, you are under construction.
Yeah.
That's good. I like the answer. It means that you've had a talk like this before.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's start off by trying or discussing the structure of the Department of Labor. First of all. So that if it so happens that you need us, you know exactly what is happening in there. Am I too far?
Sorry to disturb. They can't hear you.
I'm being bullied here. Can they hear me now? Okay.
See what we need to do.
Yes.
Is the
If I get closer, it's gonna go in my mouth.
I don't understand this because
Isn't it supposed to like?
we use this quite often. We never had that problem.
And where's the best position for me to stand? Right there. Oh. Is it okay now? Is it better? Okay, keep listening. All right, Department of Labor. Let's discuss that first. What is the Department of Labor? In fact, there is nothing called the Department of Labor anymore. It's now the Department of Employment and Labor. So it has been changed. So if you still got that on your notes, scratch that out, fix it right now. It's the Department of Employment and Labor. So the name has changed. Now, in a department we have different sections within the department. And I might not go into all the different types of sections because all of us here, we are focused on one thing. We have a sole focus on occupational health and safety. So I want to explain how do we get there, right? So we have different sections within the Department of Labor. We have BS, we have IES, we have COIDA, so on and so forth. I won't name all of them, right? Now, we've got in each and every part, whether it's COIDA, whether it's IES, which is Inspection and Force Services, which is PS, there are inspectors there, right? So in all these sections that I'm speaking about, there are inspectors that are responsible for whatever specialty is needed at that time, right? Now, our focus is on IES because that's where the occupational health and safety inspectors belong, at the IES section. IES, you'll find you've got inspectors for basic conditions of employment, you've got inspectors for unemployment insurance fund, and you've got inspectors for occupational health and safety, right? Within that inspectorate as well, you've got different specialities, right? For example, with occupational health and safety, you get principal inspectors that solely work with electricity, electrical work, mechanical, construction, and so on and so forth. And then you have general inspectors that will do everything. But if by any means you need a area of focus, then you will have those principals coming over to your site and doing the work for you, okay? The technical part is just a little bit more than the general inspectors, right? You also get compensation for occupational injuries and diseases, right? That's aside. Something that you should note down, that I can assist you with your claims, but I don't do claims. You understand? I can assist you by directing you to the proper people that are doing claims if by any means you do have a section 24, okay, let's not go there. If you have an injury on duty, I can assist you by directing you. But I do not deal with claims because it's a different section on its own. Compensation for occupational injuries and disease is a different section on its own, and I want you guys to understand that. Because most often when we go to sites and we do maybe we do investigations for an injury on duty, what happens is that there's this expectation that we'll also be doing the claim for that person. We do not do the claims. It's done by another section, right? Hi guys, are you here?
Yes.
I'm here. All right, that's good. So that is how we end up here, right? Now, we spoke about occupational health and safety, right? Right. Do we understand what occupational health and safety is? Got you there. We're not going to go past this one. What is occupational health and safety? Okay, first of all, before what is occupational health and safety, can I change the name of occupational health and safety? Am I allowed to do that as an inspector? Or maybe in any place where I have reference, can I say any other name besides that name? Why?
You must act within your authority.
It's good. 2 questions I've asked. I'm putting it on the table. The only way to know this is by us interacting and speaking about it. Right? That's the best way for you to know. Right? What is occupational health and safety? How can you define for me occupational health and safety? It doesn't have to be a technical term. No, don't think deep. Just think of what you do and how you do what you do.
The safety and well-being of the employee.
Excellent.
Yes.
Part of it, yes.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
That you're working in a safe environment, you're ensuring that at
Okay.
all times.
So safety of the employee, safety of the environment. Let's go deeper. There's still some things that are missing. Because now we've mentioned employees, we've mentioned the environment. What else?
It's the safety of the people at work, including the head.
Good. You're including other contractors, right?
Yes.
And you're also including health now.
Also involved.
Safe health. So it's any omission, right, that might affect or might cause an adverse health effect. That's what you're saying. We're getting there. What else? One more. You can give me just one, I'm gone, I'm through. We can go to the next question. Through. One more, I'm through. We go to the next question, last one. Anyone? Easy one. This one is the easiest. Okay, my hands
I
up.
guess anything safety related. So it could just go, we do toolbox talks every month.
Good.
And they just cover unbelievable things that you never think of. I mean, anything from ladders to power tools to potholes in a road and not sleeping behind a wheel. I mean, the list just goes on.
That's good. So it's the anticipation of stressors, anything that might cause harm. Good. One more. There's one more. There's one more. That was part of the one that you answered actually. It was part of that one. It was within, but there's just one more. One more. One. And those around you. That is the one that's missing. And those around you. So it's you, your site, everyone in your site, and those around the site. Which have nothing to do with your activities, exactly. Exactly, yeah. They have nothing to do with your activities, but because they are, you're working in a live environment, they become part of you. And that's what the definition is. Scientific definition is the arts and science that is devoted for the anticipation, devotion, evaluation, magnitude of all risk and hazards that are attached to your workplace or the activities of your workplace. There is a dictionary. Mine, Mthobisi Madlala's dictionary's definition, which I've acquired through literature, obviously, that I've read throughout the years. Okay, but that is the best definition that you can ever give. Make sure you include your employees, those that are within the employment, those are within the site, and also around you. Very, very important. Right. Also, another question for you guys. I said, can I change this name? Can I, in my documents, because I know all of us here deal with documents, right? Can I say it's that act, and I call it that act? No. But what governs me to do that? If I decide I want to use different literature, what governs me to do that?
You can't, because this one is not a law, it's an act.
It's a law,
So
but there's,
But it's intrinsically related to the safety.
it's good. There's also other, in fact, there is no law in South Africa that has nothing to do with safety. There is no law in South Africa that does not have a safety or type of control of safety, some sort of safety.
Thanks, sir.
I think I must write a notice for this one. Yeah. Can I? Your answers are right. Thank you. I think the best place to place this microphone is inside, right here, where the voice what is. I think that's the best place. So, can I? Because I want us to go past that, so that, you know, your literature is very important to us, because it can set precedents between complying and non-compliance. You see? Because what you can do is, I can come to your site at any day, having had noticed you that I'm coming, fix everything. You fix everything. Everything that I can aesthetically see, or everything that I can visual, anything that I can see. But your documents are referenced wrong. There is a non-conformance, right? Referencing is very important, right? So the answer for that one is no, you cannot change this. Why? Because we have a section 50 and we have a section 49. Section 50, this act shall be called what it's called, which is the Occupational Health and Safety Act 85 of 1993. Why I wanted us to go through that? Because it's only one act in as far as occupational health and safety is concerned that is administered. One. Section 49, it says that it has been changed from the machinery regulation post 1993 to the Occupational Health and Safety Act 85 of 1993. Do you know why I say 85 of 1993? Do you know? Because it was one of the first 100 acts that were changed in 1993. So it's a special act, ne? Yeah, it's a very special act. Very, very special act. It was one of the first 100 acts that were changed in 1993. All right? If you don't believe me, write it down, do a little bit of homework, go to your act, look at section 50, look at section 49, right? Gert, I think you owe me a book. What happens is that every time I have these talks and then I carry my act with me, everyone thinks that what I'm saying is in the act. Yeah, okay, what I'm saying is in the act, but they think that they'll be able to know the sections as I know the sections if they have this book. But the only thing that makes me know the sections of the books is because I've made it my personal Bible. And that's the only way you'll also be able to try your best or your level best to be compliant in whatever you do. Okay? Right. Our objectives as the Department of Labor. Right? When I see you, I just touch the mic.
Oh, so sorry.
Now it's the camera. Okay.
People are killing me. Like,
Now it's the camera. Okay, I won't touch it anymore.
do you have the
Okay.
Just a little bit while we wait till Mthobisi will give us
Give us a go ahead.
When we're ready. Just a little bit on this Act 85. It's the 85th Act
Yeah.
in 1993 that was placed before Parliament.
Yeah.
Meaning it was implemented and they had to be signed off for that year. Meaning it was implemented on the 1st of January 1994. It was the very first act, a little bit of useless information, very first act that Nelson Mandela signed. Yeah.
One of the first 100.
Yeah, it was one of the very first ones.
One of the very first.
It was his first duty as president to sign those 100.
Very special.
So if you want to blame somebody,
Yes.
don't be about. Okay. It'll go then. Can we carry on?
You can carry on. It's going to take a minute.
It'll take a minute.
Okay.
Let's say a minute.
Do I carry on?
Give me a few minutes.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
one
wait.
second.
Do you have an attendance register that's going to go around? Okay, thank you.
Not a signed one, just a digital one.
No, it's fine. If it's an attendance register, you know I need a copy of that. But everyone's going to sign it, obviously.
Huh?
Aye. We're never going live again. We're never going live again. I don't know where we were, but I'll just try and carry on. Objectives of the Department of Labor. Right. Number one is to ensure compliance. That's the first thing. We need to ensure compliance. Now, there are more than enough reasons that you know why we must ensure the compliance. I don't have to explain that to you guys. Right? Number two is for assistance, to assist you guys in ensuring compliance, to assist you guys to ensure that you minimize as much as you can your risks and hazards, and also to minimize injuries or fatalities or whatever the case may be, but to minimize that. Okay? And I want to understand one thing. I want you guys to we are not here to be like I don't want to say like police. Yeah, we're not there for that. Yeah, we are here to assist you and to work with you. You know what? I get a lot of employers when I come. They are very, I don't know which word to use, but they don't like us. They don't like us. But not understanding that we advocate, we assist. And when you do get a non-conformance, don't let that be now the end of days for you. No. Let that be a learning curve for you to be better. Because that's the only way you can become better. Right? So that is our main objective. To ensure compliance, to advocate, to assist. We will assist you. The department is giving us minutes. So if you phone, we can even phone you back. We are available here 8 hours a day. 8, not 9, 8, please. Don't want no one phoning me at 6 o'clock. 8. I made that one very clear. It's 8 hours. We are available here from Monday to Friday. I don't want someone phoning me on Saturday.
But now what happens is my wife calls from the bed 6 o'clock.
That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. That's a very tricky one. Right. But all jokes aside, we are on 24-hour call, 7 days a week. But you can't phone me and say that, no, my manager doesn't want to sign what, no. It's only for emergencies after hours, fatalities, and we do have guys who are always on standby for that type of activity, right? So we've defined occupational health and safety. We've mentioned our objectives, right? And our responsibilities. Now, it comes to the most interesting parts of everything now. Your responsibility and what we are expecting from you. Right? And I will be doing the department an injustice if I don't go through that in the only 1 hour I've been given. What is it that is requested from you, that is required from you in your line of work? Whether it's construction, manufacturing, engineering, or whatever the case is. But before I go to that, I want to ask a question for those who are in construction. Should I come to your workplace, let's say maybe you are installing air conditioning, right? And I look at your file, and in your file, I see that you've got a copy of the construction regulation, but nothing else. Can I cite you for that? You are in construction, doing construction work, because the work that you're doing is defined under construction, under the construction regulation, but this is the only regulation that you have at the moment. Or maybe you can also have the occupational health and safety regulation. You just have that and that. Can I cite you for that?
No.
Can I?
No, because all information is there.
Is there? Okay. It's good because it takes me exactly where I want to go. Lovely answer. I love your answer. It's not right, but I love it. Right. Now, I want to go to what we actually do and what is requested from you guys, right? Now, I'm quoting sections now. You write down. You write. I'm just going to quote now. I'm going to be quoting. Now, first of all, what you're doing, Occupational Health and Safety, is the Occupational Health and Safety Act of 1993, 85 of 1993, right? And within that act, you have two things. You have Section 43, which gives rise to regulations. And then you have a Section 44, which talks about the incorporation of standards. Okay. Are we still here in the same book? Yeah, same WhatsApp group. That's good. Right. So, for you to comply, you're going to have to be aligned with the regulations that form parts of the Act, because they are in Section 43, right? You're going to make sure that you understand the incorporated standards, right? So, what is that saying? It's saying that what you have in the Act is not complete. You still have regulation to look at, and you still have a standard to look at. Now, there's incorporated standards. So you're not going to look at every single standard that you have in South Africa. You're going to look at the standards that are incorporated into the regulations. That's why it says incorporated standards. Right? Okay. So, to answer the question that was answered very nicely but very wrongly. When you are doing your installation of the, I'm making an example, right? And it's a good example because someone that's here. Exactly. Installation of air conditioning. And I see in your file that there is only one regulation there. I can cite you, right? Because the first regulation that says that is a General Administration Regulation 5, 4.
Can I quickly, sorry for interfering here. Can we quickly take a break? Okay, just 5 minutes. There is some cooling there at the back. The toilet is right at the end. Sorry for that, and then and when we come back, 5-10 minutes back.
No, where does your air conditioning come from? Comes from there. Yeah, the what regulation? Driven machinery regulation. Driven machinery regulation and the standards.
Wait, what's happening here? Mthobisi, I'm not hearing you.
Okay. My question, if you remember, before we were interrupted by something that we don't like, I asked the question, should I come to your site and I find out that you've only got 2 regulations, or the act and just the construction regulation, you are doing construction work, you are in a construction site, right? Can I give you a contravention notice or maybe an improvement notice if I find that situation? And the answer was no, remember? Now, that is what I'm trying to explain, to say that right? You're working from there, this is your office space. And I request for a COC, Certificate of Compliance for Electrical Installation. I don't find it. Can I cite you?
Yes,
Excellent. Why?
you contributed.
Exactly. And what you've contravened the electrical installation regulation. You do have it as part of your construction regulation, but the one that really talks to that is your electrical installation regulation. Right? So we're on the same page. Right. Okay. So basically that is what I'm trying to explain to you. So I was speaking now and I was speaking about citing you guys, right? Now you have to understand one thing. I'm employed as an occupational health and safety inspector under section 28, carrying out duties and the powers under section 29 and 30. So everything that I do is within that act. Everything. My functions are within that act, everything that I do in the act. And within that act, section 30.4 and section 30.3 and 2 and so on and so forth, they talk about me serving notices.
Mthobisi, what is the different types of notices that you use?
It's me serving a notice, right? So that gives me the powers to be able to serve you with a notice should I find a non-conformance, right? Should I find a non-conformance, right? Now, 3 types of notice that I can serve to you. 3 types of notice that I serve to you. And these notices are served under section 45. Section 45 is serving of the notice. There's a contravention notice, which I'll give you 60 days. I'll go down and then I'll fetch the notices so that you can be familiar with them. Why I want you to be familiar with them? I want it to be something that you try by all means to avoid. Yeah. Try by all means to avoid. Okay? Number 2 is an improvement notice. For example, I come to your workplace, you have a risk assessment, but your risk assessment has a lot of activities that you haven't included. You've got it, but it's not conclusive. Well, very few things can be conclusive, but you've got it, but also I feel that there's a lot of things that are not included into that. What do? Give an improvement notice. Then the third one is a prohibition.
It's a what?
Prohibition.
Oh, prohibition.
Prohibition. Meaning exactly what it's saying. I'm prohibiting an activity. Prohibiting an activity. Prohibiting an activity. Right. Example, if I come here and there's something that I see that is of immediate danger that you guys are doing, and then maybe outside you guys are sweeping, and then I give you a prohibition notice, and I want you to understand this very well. The operation notice is for this activity that I have seen to have immediate danger. Unless the inspector says that he's prohibiting the whole site because he sees the site as an immediate danger, then you stop all operations. But if I say I'm prohibiting a certain activity, then you stop that activity immediately. But also, the notice will say what is it that is being prohibited. So you follow that notice as it is. So those are the 3 notices that are being served: improvement, contravention, and prohibition that we serve. All right. Now, another thing that I want you to know and understand is that should I serve you a notice and you know your stuff, and then you feel that no, this notice was not supposed to be served, what do you do?
Appeal.
Excellent. Under section?
25.
We will not laugh at you
I'm laughing at myself, but I have no idea.
because that was the worst guesswork I've ever
Sorry.
seen. It is the worst guesswork. I mean, we've just spoke about this section 45 as serving.
Notices, sorry.
Section
I would say
Oh, you're almost there.
32.
43.
Ah, yeah.
43.
Right. Okay, why don't you just say numbers from 1 to 50? You're almost there when you said 30. You're just a little bit off.
7.
No. Appeal against appeal against the decision of an inspector, section 35. Very powerful, very powerful, very powerful. Very, very powerful. You need to understand that, because in as much as we have the authority and power, but you also need to understand your duties. Like I said at the beginning, I will make sure that you understand also your responsibilities. You see? All right? So you can appeal the decision of an inspector. Right? Now, another thing that I want to highlight. How many of you have had injuries on duty?
In the company, not personally.
And just an injury?
No, in the company we have
Yeah.
a few actually.
A few.
Yeah.
Okay. And then have you had a section 31 investigation? You haven't had one. Are you reporting it?
Yes, because we, well, all of it gets done through FED.
Yes.
They, we report everything to them and they take.
That is exactly where I want to go. Okay. Now, what is happening? Because now, remember what I explained when I started. I say COIDA is another department, different section. Right? And I said we are also a different section. Now, you've got section 24 and section 25. Section 24 is reporting of an incident. Section 25, reporting of a occupational disease or disease. Right? Are we still here?
Yes.
Excellent. Now, you are reporting, when you are reporting to, the type of reporting that you are explaining is the one that is focused on the claim. Right? So you are reporting it for that reason, for compensation reason. Right? But you are not, for occupational health and safety reasons, you haven't reported. Exactly. So you've, in a way, because you are so honest and you're such a nice person, I'll act like I didn't see, I just advocate.
We did not hear that.
Well, no, it's not like that. Yeah.
But
Sorry.
now, out of curiosity, like, I don't deal with that as it is because, like, Kat will tell you, where she had a very pleasant experience with the Labour Department last year sometime. I did not. I got
and
the
I-
months of having to sort out everything because we had documents in place, but it wasn't exactly what they wanted. Stuff was off base, and there was a lot of things that had to be improved. So that, I think they stand up with almost all three if possible.
Yeah. Flip,
Yeah, just keep in mind, in your case, they did not do a construction visit, they did your manufacturing visit. They did a visit on the premises. So it was quite in depth. They came as a team.
No, but you're lucky. You're lucky. Seriously, you are lucky because after that, I'm sure your level of compliance has just risen to something
Well, I do
else.
everything now.
That's good. That's
Because
good.
previously we didn't have
5
someone
minutes,
to
right?
That's good.
that did it.
5 minutes, okay. I'll try. Okay, I've got 5 minutes. I've got a 5 minute warning. Gert is such a bully today. He's bullied my time so much, but it's okay. Now, you make sure that you report these incidents. Now, you look at general administration regulation, reporting of incidents, general registration, it's 9. General administration regulation 9. It shows you how you report these incidents. It tells you how you report these incidents and also these diseases. So they need to report it. Either than that way, you need to report to the chief director. That's what it says. And when you're reporting to COIDA, you're not reporting to the chief director, you're reporting to COIDA for your claim. So if we come, or if COIDA decides not to give us those inspections or those references, or should they decide to give us those references, and then we come to your site, we say, did you report? The answer will be no, because you haven't reported. That is a non-conformance, section 24. I've got 5 minutes, I need to rush. If, guys, this is the last one. If, guys, there's a non-conformance, and I want you to be very careful when you are reading your literature. If there's a non-conformance from the side of the act, that is direct prosecution, you go to court. If there is an omission from the side,
Thing for safety is taking ownership. And that is exactly what we are doing here. Myself, I've been a teacher for 10 years. And then after that in safety for 19 years. So please take notes. It's going to be in the test afterwards. Okay? Okay, good. No, paragraphs. How's the voice? Can you guys hear me? Good. Good. So I've got a slideshow. The reason why I've got a slideshow is so to show you guys the logic regarding health and safety. The first thing that everybody needs to understand is the OSH Act. Okay? So I'm going to attempt to sum this up. Okay? It's very easy. Matter of fact is we are doing safety every single day of our lives. Okay? And the smokers even do it more. Have we got any smokers? Luckily none, eh? Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. You know the safety within a fire and a match. Have you ever seen a match? Next time you go and buy a box of matches, have a look at it. It is square, and right at the end, it's round. Because it was gripped there by the machine that dips it into a type of wax. And then it puts the sulfur in front, and then it dips it again. So when you ignite it, you will see it starts like bubbles in front of the flame. It's to isolate it just like a copper wire inside a lead, in a cord. Okay, so safety is all around us. Our design, our building, our engineers, big section. There's nothing that you can do that you have not done safety again. So I'm quickly going to give you an overview of the OSH Act. Guys, you're welcome to stop me at any time. But before COVID, the budget for IODs was 4 billion rand. The claims that were submitted that financial year was 11 billion. It's a cost-saving exercise for South Africa. Okay? Grant, are we going a different device? It's a cost-saving exercise for the government to appoint more inspectors, because they'd rather pay it in salaries than paying it out on deceased people. Every person, every blue-collar person that dies is 3 million rand to the government. That's what they need to pay out for the families and insurances and whatever the case might be. They will claim that back from you. It will just take a couple of years because your workman's compensation will increase. So it's a cost-saving exercise for you guys as well. Okay, good. So I'm going to draw a stop sign. Start with a stop sign now. This is not in your books yet. We're getting to your books yet. Starting with a stop sign. Who's the role players there? Is we have got the employer. We have got the employees. What is it all about? It's about health and safety. Look at that, guys. That is a safety meeting. We sit around a table. My mouse doesn't show. We sit around a table, a representative of the employer, a representative of the employees, and we talk about health and safety. What do we want to achieve? Incidents. Okay, that's my definition for the OSH Act. Okay? No incidents. That's what it's all about. But there's certain sections that we need to quickly touch on. And now I know there's a lot of sections that's been thrown around. I'm going to make it hopefully as easy as possible, because that's what you're going to expect from a consultant, is to make it easy and simple. So let's quickly have a look at the employer. Firstly, the employer, section 16.1 says that the CEO is ultimately responsible, irrespective if you're on site or not. He has got the right to appoint a 16.2 to assist him in his duties and liabilities on site. Okay? You need to have a personal commitment, meaning a health and safety policy. Am I too high? Fantastic. Can I just quickly have my Mthobisi? My cell phone now, sorry man. Great stuff. In case so it is then to have a personal commitment, a health and safety policy. It is then also, section 8 says, it is the general duty of the employer to ensure that everybody on site is safe. Duties of the employer, what you need to do to make sure that everybody is safe. And it's like a big circle. Let's quickly go and have a look, what is your duties, okay, as the employer. Now that's your duties as management. Firstly, identify all your hazards. Have you done a risk assessment? That's how you identify your hazard. Have you eliminated it? Meaning we don't want to be involved with that hazard. We need to get rid of it. But sometimes you can't. You have to work at height. So you need to mitigate it. You need to see what can you do to lower the risk in that activity. Then you need to obviously convert to PPE after that. Can you see PPE is the last thing? It's not the first thing. I know what people do. We had experience in the retail store where people walk into our retail store and say, guys, I need to get my safety in order. What safety shoe is the most important thing? Most important is the cheapest. Let's call about it. What safety shoe is the cheapest? It's not about your PPE. You first need to see if you can do that job without PPE. Okay? And it only starts with the risk assessment. I have defended many companies, not on construction sites because they're the principal contractor dictates it, but on manufacturing area, where the Department of Labour said they want safety shoes for everybody in the manufacturing area. Then we did a risk assessment identifying and showing to the Department of Labour that wearing safety shoes actually increases the risk. And they were happy. Okay, but you need to go through that logic process. Then supervision. All work must be under supervision of somebody that represents the CEO. No work can be unattended. Yes, Mthobisi.
Just one thing, when you're speaking about supervision, Gert, that I just want to highlight.
Yeah.
When you speak about Section 8 and supervision, there is no appointment for Section 8. Section 8 does not have an appointment. And in many instances, I've seen appointments on Section 8 for supervisors. There is no appointment for Section 8. Thank you.
Thank you for that stick in this wheel. We do appoint, you're absolutely right. In the construction regulation, there's no such appointment, but we do appointment of 8.1 as well as 8.7 on a construction site supervisor for the simple reason that it is deemed by the client. It's a requirement by the client. Just remember, your client has got the right to ask over and above the minimum requirements of the OSH Act. Okay. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Training. Then obviously everybody needs to be competent in their working environment. All your employees must know you cannot stop anymore by the side of the road and tell the guys there by the robot, jump. They need to be competent. You need to prove competency. And then obviously a safe environment. Okay? Safe environment. That is the duties of an employer. Okay, let's go back there. Then it is incidents. You must have a letter of good standing. Who's going to pick up the bill for that poor guy that got injured? You must have first aiders, firefighters, safety rep, incident investigators, the whole team to make sure and assist you that your people is safe at site. Then 37, you must have an appointment letter for your employee stating what he can and cannot do, 37.1. 37.2, you are also liable for everybody else that comes on site. That is why you, as a contractor, needs to sign a 37.2 when you go into somebody else's premises. And 37.2 is very clear. It says, if you do not sign an agreement in writing, it will be deemed as if the client becomes your new employer. So he must make sure that whoever comes on his site is safe. Okay? Or else he needs to pick up the bill. As simple as that. Then, 38, yes, there is penalties and offences, and we can, but this is not the time to talk about the 100,000 rand and 2 years imprisonment, so we won't mention that. Okay. Employee. Let's quickly have a look at the employees. Firstly, section 17, when we need to have an appointed safety rep, do you guys know? When you are more than 20 employees. Okay, when you're more than 20 employees, you need to appoint your first safety rep. That safety rep has got certain functions that he needs to do, and he needs to be competent. He must be trained in his duties and liabilities. Please keep in mind that that appointment is voluntary, and it must be through a nomination and election process from your other employees. Then, Health and Safety Committee. When to have a Health and Safety Committee, number 19, and what to discuss on it. Sorry, Health and Safety Committee and what to discuss on it. Section 14 is duties of employees. Because we're not appointing children, we expect certain behavior from them. But they've only got 5 things that they need to attend to. You as an employer, Section 8, you've got 13 different elements that you need to attend to. Like, for example, employees. They must cooperate. They must listen to what you say. They must report an incident before the end of the shift. Why? Because you are responsible for making sure your environment is safe. If they go home, you've got no control over that environment. When they come back and say, oh, yesterday I cut my finger, I'm losing my finger, I'm going to claim. Submit it. But it's actually too late. It can be declined by the Department of Labour on terms that it has been reported late. Okay? Especially if there's no activity that uses that type of cut. Good. Let's quickly see. And then last one, duty to inform, number 13. It is extremely important. Yes?
I just want to bully you for section 17. In fact, point number 1, 2, 3,
Yes?
even 4. Just an emphasis, read those sections.
Yes.
Read those sections. They are very, very important.
17 to 20.
17, 18, 19, 20. Please read those sections. They are very, very important. Thank you.
Good. 17 to 20 is very important. Good. Section 13 is duty to inform. Extremely important that your employees knows the hazards and risk attached to their task. It's an ongoing process. We saw that underneath the Section 8 duties of employer, that he must constantly teach your employees. Now, let's quickly see what's going to happen when that incident is there. Okay, let's quickly play that scenario. Department of Labour is going to pitch up on site. And they're going to ask some tough questions. The first thing that they're going to ask is who's management? Now, guys, I've seen several managers and employers saying, I'm not going to sign that section 16.2 and I'm not going to sign that 37.1 or 2 because then I'm not liable. No. Just the fact that somebody reports to you makes you liable. Okay. That appointment letter, matter of fact, is in the OSH Act itself, not the construction regulation. In the OSH Act itself, there's only 2 appointments that needs to be in writing, and that is the safety rep and your 37.2. Okay. So we enforce appointments for the simple reason it counts in your favor. Okay. Good. Then they're going to ask, have you got a personal commitment, a safety file, stating how you're going to take charge of your safety on a daily basis? Have you identified your risk, eliminate, mitigate, PPE, put supervision in place and ongoing training? Have you reported all your, have you got a letter of good standing? Who's going to pick up the bill for this poor guy that passed away? Okay. And then, have you got an appointment letter stating for him what he can and cannot do? Only then, no negligence will be proven on the employer side, and they'll jump over to the employers and say, hey, Baba, we have got proof of evidence that the employer have acted as a responsible person. Make sense? Okay. Let's quickly see. You are going to, if by mere chance there's something wrong, you have skipped something, you cannot prove reasonable person. Now I want to talk about reasonable person. So we quickly talk, you know what's reasonable person? Who's a parent? Everybody parents? Okay. Mthobisi, you too? Oh. Okay. It doesn't explain your profile pic. Okay. If you've got a parent, weekend is coming up, okay? And your 4-year-old daughter is playing here on the grass. And you are drinking Castle Light because you're a responsible drinker and it's lockdown. Can't get alcohol. And then there in the road walks a dangerous dog. What you going to do? The silence is a bit alarming. Okay, okay, great stuff. You're gonna do something, am I right? You're gonna pick up your daughter, you're gonna close the gate, you're gonna chase the dog, you're gonna do something because you are a responsible person. Some of us, by the look of it, is gonna take a sip of our Castle Light and see who runs the fastest to the front door, the dog or the daughter. No, you're gonna do something. Now that's exactly what safety is all about. Identifying the dangerous dogs and closing the gates on them before they can come and injure your employees. That's safety, guys. And proof of evidence is in your safety file. Okay, so you're going to appoint somebody, okay, to make sure that your safety is happening on site. Either a safety manager, or you're going to appoint your 16.2, your supervisor, or somebody like that. Let's quickly see what is his duties. As a representative of you, the employer, he needs to inform the employees how to do their job safely. Am I right? How will he do that? Guys, simple. He's going to use, where am I now? SOPs, safe working procedures, toolbox talks, induction training, going through the files, appointment letter. You are constantly informing them how to do their task safely. That's what it's all about. What is the duties of the employees? It is their duties to report back that it is working or not working. Can you see? It's not a one-time event. How do we report back? Well, inspections, attending the safety meetings and telling them, listen, we've got this new scaffolding, but it's already broken, we want new ones, or whatever the case might be. Okay. Can you see the circle? Informing, reporting, informing, reporting. That is an ongoing thing. A lot of people come to me and say, Gert, I've passed the audit, I'm on site. And then 2 weeks later, the safety officer comes and goes through the same file and he fails me and I need to get off site. What the heck happened? Because you did not do the bottom part. You didn't do your inspections. You didn't follow up and make sure that your employees are safe. Because safety is much like going to the gym. Okay, I'm going to point to a couple of guys here. If you don't go to the gym regularly, you look like me. Who's laughing? Okay. But that's what safety is all about. It's constantly reminding. It's not a once-off event. And that is why, listen now clearly guys, that is why you cannot outsource liabilities. You cannot tell Department of Labour, FTS did your safety file. They're not going to come to us. They're going to go to you. You must make sure that you've implemented that file correctly, that you are doing your due diligence, that you are talking to your employees, that you're doing your inspections, that you're actually, what we are doing from FTS, we're giving you a tool. If you buy your safety file, it's just like buying a spade or a wheelbarrow. You still need to use it.
Sorry, Kato, just on that score, I remember
Yeah.
the Seeker said to me, he had a few clients that said, they didn't pass the safety file. He said,
Yeah.
well, did you complete it yourself? We're giving it to you, but you need to complete it.
You need to
and sign
complete it.
off."
Yeah. Shampoo and Sika, he receives that every day, eh? You know what? Actually, just to give you a little bit of a history of this course, this specific course of how to compile a safety file was born to teach the people how to implement the file. It's extremely important. And I do realize, I acknowledge the fact that it doesn't come naturally. We had people in our retail store running in there said, Department of Labour have just kicked me off site. I need a safety file. On which shelf can I get it? Quick, I need it now. Okay, that's not the case. Can you see there that it's a system within your company? So if you have ever gotten a safety file, use that safety file ongoingly. The worst thing you can ever do for your company is buy one safety file for one site because one client have asked for it. Next 4 or 5 clients didn't ask for it. So you don't go for it. It's the worst thing that you can do for your company. Because now when the 3rd, 4th, or 6th client come up, they want a safety file because they shop, then it's like grinding again. If you had everything in place, it's just, there you go. It's not a problem. But I'm going to give you the solution. Beautiful solution. Okay, anyway. Does this make sense? It's easy. Any questions regarding an overview of the Occupational Health and Safety Act? Can you see it's easy? It's reasonable person. Matter of fact, is we do it every single day. Every single day. When you get in your car, you are doing safety. You don't stand in front of your car and say, what am I going to do? You go through the processes. You know that already. And that's where we need to go with in your company. They call it, the big word for it is automotive state. Okay. Good. Everything must be neat and accessible. So when Department of Labour pitches up, you just give them the file. Okay. That's what it's all about. And you carry on. Okay. Good. Now, let's quickly go and see how are we going to compile a safety file. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's quickly. Good. That book that you've received, let's quickly going to have a look. Now guys, this I changed it a little bit for the simple reason I want to follow the process of the software that we've developed. We are very proud of it. It's a safe site, we call it. It's a logical process because a lot of people say, this is so complicated. What is the logic behind it? And that is extremely important that you guys understand what the logic behind it is. Now, before we can have a look at the logic, there's a couple of terminology that we must first understand. For example, in the construction regulation, which is different than the Occupational Health and Safety Act, we have got identified 3 parties. Firstly, you'll have the client, then you'll have the principal contractor, and then you'll have the contractors. Okay? And there's the extract of the Act. Now you will see the other booklet that I've printed for you guys is actually the construction regulation. Okay? It's good to have it, it's good to understand it. Mthobisi was actually 100% correct. The General Safety Regulation does say you need to have every act which is applicable on you in your file, and then the legal term is they actually make a legal register out of it to see what sections of the act is applicable on you, and then what's your answer, how do you want to comply. Good. I took the liberty of making a little drawing there for the next page, so that you guys can see who is the client, who is the principal contractor, and who is the contractors. Now, everybody worked on a construction site, am I correct? Everybody's got experience. Everybody has received some documentation from your client, or some site visitations, or a safety officer sitting opposite you on the table, going through that file and saying, oh. Had that experience? Good. It's a good thing. Now, construction regulation section 5, the client. The client is the first person. Now, these are one of the big changes. Prior to 2014, the client was never responsible for safety. I don't know if you know that. Okay, the client was never responsible for safety. He would appoint the principal contractor and say, hey, Bobs, your problem, I'm the man with the money, get the job done. But if you don't get it done in time, for whatever reason, there's penalties. I'm going to charge you 10 grand a day. Then he gets to the end of the project, he's not going to make it, it's maybe 2 weeks late or a week late, that's going to cost him 70,000 rand. So he tells the people, I don't care what you guys do, get this job done, forget about the safety thing, I don't want to pay penalties. And then suddenly your incidences rises. So it was picked up. Department of Labour changes. One of the biggest changes that they did in 2014 is making the client ultimately responsible for everyone on site. Okay, and that is amazing. So now, when you have he needs to appoint you formally and inform you that you are liable for your own safety via 37.2. That's a company-to-company agreement, and then he needs to appoint you underneath the construction regulation section 5.1, stating that you need to comply to the construction regulation. 5.1. 51K. Thank you, Mthobisi. Okay. So when the Department of Labour pitch up on site, they're actually looking for the 5.1K appointment letter. They don't care about the company-to-company, okay, appointment letter. Now let's quickly have a look at that. When a client will then get a baseline risk assessment done, whereby he will get somebody in and say, listen, we want to build a shopping mall. It's going to be 5 stories. There's going to be working at heights. We're going to have mobile equipment. There's going to be a lot of things on that site. It makes a list out of it. That's your baseline risk assessment. Then number 2 is your client specifications. Your client specifications is a document that complies to the minimum requirements of the construction regulation. For example, construction regulation of the OSH Act actually says that you need to have a safety rep when you are 20 or more. Or you need a first aider when you are 10 and more. Underneath General Safety Regulation Section 4. But, now for example, engine. I know personal experience. Engine says, guys, we don't talk about deaths, we see deaths. So we don't want you to have your first aider from 10 and more. We want you, the first employee that comes from my side must be a first aider. And then we get a lot of people coming to us and say, Gert, how fair is that? How must we survive? And all. And then, I'm going to put it in perspective for you guys. Let's, for example, say I have bought a very expensive Persian carpet, okay, in my house. And my house rule says that if you want to come and visit me, you need to take your shoes off by the door before you can walk on my carpet. It's a stupid rule because carpets are made to walk on. Hey, it's my house. It's my house rules. Same with engines, same with WBHO, same with SUPREF, same with the JVK, all of those people. They have got internal house rules that if you want to deal with them, you need to be compliant to their regulations. I have seen many contractors that sat in that safety audit, whereby the safety officer from the client have requested stuff that actually doesn't make sense. Now you've got two options that you can do. Okay, firstly, you can argue with him. You can argue with him, you can take out the act and you can explain it to him and say, listen, this is how it works, and so on and so on. And that's going to take you another 2-3 days and most probably not get on site. Or you can say, not a problem, how do we comply? What do you want me to do? If he asks something like, you need a first aider like engine from first appointee, you can tell him, listen, I haven't got a first aider. Have you got a first aider that I can appoint on behalf of me? Somebody that works in my area. And I promise you, it's very few of them that decline that offer. Okay, it is compliant. Okay. So yes, work with your client. Your client is ultimately responsible. They are liable for your health and safety. If you get something wrong, they need to answer. We're getting to that. Then the principal contractor. The principal contractor have been appointed underneath section 5.1K to manage the safety for the whole site. Okay, he takes BO. He takes responsibility for the whole site. So he's going to get somebody to do the bricklaying. The principal contractor, he's going to get somebody for tiling. He's going to get somebody for shop fitting and so on. Those people needs to be appointed. Firstly, they need to know what the client specifications is, so they will forward the client specification and baseline. Then he will appoint them with his own appointment letter 37.2, because it's company to company. Some clients request actually that you use their 37.2, that's fine, but it's company to company. And then also you need to notify him that he's responsible not for the whole site, but only for tiling, only for bricklaying, only for painting. So then you will sign a construction regulation section 7.1 CV. Okay. So 37.2, company to company, construction regulation, appointing to people. So that is very important, that appointment letter must be in place. Once again, if it's not in place, it will be deemed as if you become the contractor's new employer. Okay. It is a problem that we had. We've actually raised this question with the Department of Labour, that if you work with government and if you work with Mondi and if you work with the sugar mills and those people, then Ilovo, that's the word I'm looking for, then they request you to a certain percentage of the contract needs to go to a local upliftment, okay, which is a fantastic thing. But those people, most of the time, has got no experience, has got no letter of good standing, puts quite a strain on the principal contractor, and then the principal contractor has got the choice to either make him part of his company and pay him per task, or he needs to get his own letter of good standing, but you have to assist him. Okay. Good. The subcontractor, or the contractor then actually, because we don't use the word subcontractor anymore, it's been removed, everybody is underneath the same level.
So you're giving us permission to scratch that out.
It's just for communication skills, Mr. Chief Inspector. Just so that everybody understands. But we don't use the word subcontractor anymore. The green is correct, okay? In the green is correct. We don't use a subcontractor anymore. But anyway, so they obviously need to show them be compliant to the appointment letter as received. Now look at this. Everybody on site must have a safety file. Everybody on site must have a safety file to show their compliance. It's not, I told them I would do this. I can show that I am compliant. Okay? Because when you stand in the court of law, I told you so will not cut it. And I don't know, maybe I can share this quickly. I had a personal experience of standing in the court of law twice in my life. We had an incident way up in Hillcrest with that hospital that was built there by the Muslims. And then we had a incident in a local company, not allowed to name the name, but anyway, in this company, we had an incident where the lady slipped and fell, and somebody came and picked her up, okay? And her son, and she aggravated her hip. She had a hip replacement, she fell, she aggravated her hip, and like a good a good manager came and pick her up and put a chair underneath her and said, "Can we phone somebody?" "Yes, phone my son." We phoned the son. The son is a lawyer. So everything short, we had a meeting. It was a national company. The national manager flew down, and we met here in one of their boardrooms. And I'm the safety officer, very proud of my work that I did there. And they asked a couple of tough questions. That lawyer. Now that's where I got this phrase where I say, Department of Labour is easy. We're not preparing ourselves for Department of Labour. We must use Department of Labour to get us to be compliant, so that when the real incidents happen, and that smart young lawyers, and that's what we are preparing ourselves, is standing before you. And I think they've got 2 glass eyes. They've got no mercy, those people. Okay? And then I want to just quickly run through that meeting. And in that meeting, the young lawyers asked us, "Have you got a safety file?" Yes, I took out my safety file. I'm the safety officer, very proud of what we've done. Done a risk assessment. Yes, a risk assessment. Have you communicated risk assessment? Yes, I have to communicate. What is the controls? First aiders. Have you got a first aider? Yes. Has the first aiders training valid? Yes. And then he asked another question. He said, "Was the first aider present on the day of the injury?" No, she was on maternity leave. Do you know that first aider could have done exactly the same thing, but she would have had indemnity? Because she acts within her power, her authority. But the manager, who has no authority as a first aider, acted outside of her authority. It costed that company 280,000.
This was actually cheap.
That's why, but it's long ago. Yeah.
Because now, automatically there's 2 omissions.
Yeah, there's 2 omissions, yeah.
One, General Safety Regulation 34, and then the next one is duty to inform, scope of authority, Section 8.
Scope with authority. Scope with authority, Section 8, yeah. That's what we
So
were.
we're already looking at 300 and something thousand plus.
So but then if we could show reasonable person, do you understand? That we knew our first aider is on maternity leave, not even sick leave. Sick leave would have been fine. But maternity leave. Then we knew, right, that a reasonable person would say, "Hey, we need to get somebody new." Do you understand how they argued it? But if it was only a person that was on, like I said, sick leave or late, then it's fine. It would have been within a reasonable person definition. Okay. Good. Yes.
I just want to go grab a jacket in the car.
Yes. I think it is now 2:45. Everybody still okay? Okay, shall we carry on? Good. I can take too long. But anyway, you will see the next page. There is all the legal documents. These are legal documents. We refer to it as legal documents because it's appointments between 2 companies. It's literally a question of who's going to pick up the bill. Okay. No, it's not me, it's you. Here's your appointment letter, you are liable. If those things. Now, the big problem that we have, a lot of clients out there are actually doing construction work not knowing that they are liable. All that they say is, "Hey, I've got a principal contractor, they are fine." But the moment that principal contractor gets injured and is not in writing, if it depends on what person you are, but you can actually then sue the client. Because he's your employer. Okay. Good. Worst case scenario. But you know what I like about South Africa? So I just got to mention this quickly. You know what I like about South Africa? Man, we are brought up well. We really are. We are good mothers and fathers, eh? Because when we slip, trip and fall in pavilion or wherever, we quickly jump up and we pull ourselves together and we say, "I hope nobody saw us." But in America or in England, when you slip and fall there, you make a big noise because the harder you scream and yell, the more you can claim. Now, our acts in South Africa is better written than the American acts. Okay, so watch out for that. Anyway, so in this stage we are still Okay, so how do we compile a safety file? Now, we obviously FTS can assist you with that, but the whole idea for today is then to compile it yourself. Now, quickly gonna go for me to page 7. Yes, there where it's the index. Okay, underneath the index, now the content of a safety file. Before we can talk about the content of a safety file, it is determined the content of a safety file is determined by the client. Okay? The client will give you in his client specifications, he will tell you, section 1 I want this, section 2 I want this, section 3 I want this, or whatever the case might be. That makes it extremely difficult. Just the fact that you need to do that. We use this as our default setting. Number 1 is then our company documents, 2 is your appointments, 3 is your personnel, 4 policy, 5 plans, and so on and so on and so on. Now, you guys can follow now on your paper, but I'm going to show you how we do it. Good. This is our software safe site. I'm just going to, and I'm quickly going to tell you how we're going to follow safe site. Now, the most important thing, I'm just going to select one there quickly. Okay. This is our home page at Safe Site. Now, you'll see there on page 7 that when you start a site, it's extremely important, number 1, that you must know the details of your site. How many of you guys have ever submitted the safety file and then you forgot to maybe change the site name somewhere in the safety plan? Oh my goodness, department. Or you forgot to on the header or whatever the case might be. Guys, this is the birthplace. That just to manage the site details is the birthplace of this software. Okay? And so it's extremely important that the first thing to make sure that you are site specific is just change the names. Just get the details, the minimum details right. Okay. I have seen people, safety officers, it was terrible. But anyway, they go through the file. They see one place where you forgot to change the name. They close it. They don't even tell you where they saw it. They said, this file is not site specific. That's the word that they use. And they give it back to you.
But Gert, I did emphasize the issue of referencing.
Very important.
I did.
Yeah.
So if you see anything other than what is supposed to be on the file,
Yes.
that does not belong to that site, you're not talking to the site.
Yeah, because it's not site specific. Site specific, your definition is. Now, for example, look at that. If you are a painter, for argument's sake, you're a painter, and you're going to paint a house, a 1-story house, you're going to use step ladders, okay? Not even a big one. But in your file, you've got scaffolding, you've got cherry pickers. It's not speaking to that site. You understand? But we're getting to that. So number 1 is make sure that your site is correct. So let's quickly open up a site. Let's do a new project. Okay, let's call this site, this is a test construction, or what shall we call it? Let's keep it to construction. Test construction site, okay. We'll have our site name then as a watermark everywhere. You can put your company, your client is then, let's call it Mr. Price, up to you. You carry on. What are you going to do there? Which we are going to paint the shop. Obviously, you can elaborate. And then you say, we're going to start next month and we're going to run till the end of September. You can put the shop name and address. It's up to you. And then carry on. Okay, I'm just going to skip past this quickly. What is so important, there's the summary now. And you can start now. What's so important is it pulls through that detail to all your documents. Okay? Now, It's the first step to making sure it's site specific. Make sure you change the addresses and locations and names. Okay, good. So your project plan is extremely important. The second thing that you need to look for is your employees. How do you manage your personnel? Okay, so how are you going to, you need to prove to your clients that you've got the right employees for that site and that you did not stop on the side of the road. So make sure that you've got all the different elements. Let's, for example, have a look at one. Make sure you've got an updated ID. Picture would be nice. His driver's license, all his details, ID number, date of appointment, and so on, his age, all his training skills that you have acquired throughout the years, his medical, next of kin, all of those information is important. Okay? So you need to now show to your client that you have got the right people. Those employees of yours obviously now needs to be appointment. So that brings you to your next step for when you're going to do appointments. If you have a look at your booklets, quickly have a look there at the organogram 5.3. Page 9. I want to take some time here with the organogram. A lot of companies, before we carry on with the organogram, a lot of companies is also going to ask you, what is your skills plan? You know?
You can maybe put, I don't know, I'm just saying maybe that one will go off because this one's still on.
It's there at the back, the remote for the aircon. Okay. Good. So a lot of people is going to ask you regarding your personnel, and they're going to say, what is your training matrix? Who's your people? So then it's good to see what skills you have. Who's trained as first aider, level 3, all your qualifications, your wireman's license, your working and heights training or whatever. So it's good to have that and print it and give it to your employees. That is the most effective way to impress them. I know WHO, they would not allow you if they cannot see your skills development. Okay, so this is good. So then you can maybe give them something per name so you can see what is up to date. The biggest issue that you are going to find as well, and we found that so often when people come to us and say, Gert, here's all my training certificates, compile a safety file for us, then it has expired. Okay, so please make sure you've got some type of system in place that reminds you a couple of days before that you've got some time. What's nice about this, it does remind us of expiry date. So if you do have a look at that, if it's in red, it will remind you that it's expired. And when you open up the software, it also reminds you. Okay, so managing your personnel and their competence is extremely important. Just remember, without your employees, you're nothing. If you don't need dug-up mixers and wheelbarrow pushers, then you need to look after your people. Okay, good. So let's quickly have a look at the organogram that they have set up there, that I've gave you there. We need to understand how the construction regulation is put together to make sure that everybody, that the site works. Okay, that the site works effectively. Firstly, in your company, you're going to have the 16.1, the CEO. Then you're going to have your assistants to the CEO, which is your project manager, 16.2. Then you're going to have a construction regulation 8.1. That is your construction manager. Now, there's a little bit of discussion around a construction manager. Like Mthobisi says, he doesn't want to see an appointment letter. It's ultimately we do appoint somebody in a construction regulation 8.1. This is...
Let's just fix that part first.
Okay.
The appointment I was talking about was an Occupational Health and Safety Act section appointment.
Oh, okay, not the construction
Section
regulation.
8,
The
yeah.
construction regulation, okay.
Exactly. Not the regulation, not
Okay.
the construction regulation. And it was also something that I was trying to allude to now, but I wanted to raise it at the end. Is that on page 9, when we are referencing your CR is CR, It's a construction regulation. It doesn't have a section. It's a regulation. So if it's regulation 9.1, risk assessor, it's RL, it's CR 9.1.
Not the sec.
It's not going to be CR section 9.1. Because now you're referring to two things. And if I get this, when I'm reading your file, I'll go to both. I'll go to CR, then I'll go to your section of the Act. And if it doesn't correlate, then it's a non-conformance.
Department of Labour taught me something.
So just,
Good.
I was referring to that one. In as far as construction regulation 8581, yes, those are appointments. Those are appointments.
Occupational health and safety.
Construction regulation,
Yeah.
not section 8.
Not section
of
8.
the Act.
OSH Act, that's right. In the OSH Act itself, there's only 2 appointments. That's correct.
Yes.
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 Good. So underneath the construction regulation 8.1, you'll see there now, each construction site will have one or a safety construction manager or assistants to a safety manager. Now keep in mind that a lot of the subcontractors or the assistant contractors, they appoint construction managers left, right and center. It's actually incorrect. Okay? There should be only one construction manager per site. He is the guy that if he doesn't say, nothing happens. He's the most important guy there. He is so important that according to the construction regulation, he will actually appoint your supervisor. So that your supervisor must report back to him, stating, listen, we've got this issue or this is where we are. He must know that he reports back to that person. Currently, a majority of the Act, we get the assistant, the 16.2, the project manager appoints everything. It passes. But it's not legally correct. Is that the word, the terminology? The correct it needs to be done by the clients, the principal contractor's construction manager. Anyway, so you're going to have appointments, your site supervisor, your assistant site supervisor, 8.5 as a safety officer. Now, I'm so glad Mthobisi is still here. I want to ask this question, is a safety officer, are we offside? Are we arrive? Okay. A safety officer is 8.5. Now, guys, a safety officer, let's quickly talk about a safety officer. A safety officer is somebody that have completed the NQF level 5 training course. The least qualification for that is like a SAMTRAC or I personally is a big fan of Neerbosch or something like that. Then once you have got that 10-day course certificate, you need to go and register with SACP CMP. Just like lawyers and nurses and doctors have got to register with a governing body stating that you are competent to do your work. Just remember, I nearly said there's more people dying in construction than in hospitals, but no. Luckily not yet. But every single day in construction, 2 people die. Every day. Every day, 9 people will not go home. Okay, that is now construction, manufacturing, mining, all of those people. Okay, 9 people will not go home. But in construction alone, 2 people will die. So they made it a professional profession. So once you've done your NQF level 5, you can register with SACP CMP as an applicant safety officer, meaning they give you a register, and for 2 years, 2 years, you need to follow a safety officer. He needs to sign your register of various of tasks, and then you can apply after you've written an exam and submitted your whatever documents. Then you can become a safety officer. A safety officer can only do safety files for contractors. If you want to go to the client level, if it's for when a construction site is more than 60 million, when a construction site is more than 1 year's labor, then you need a safety agent. A safety agent is somebody with a degree in safety or has got 10 years, 10 years experience in safety.
That would be you,
I've got 19 years experience, yeah, but I've got a teacher's degree. Does it count? But I've got my Hendriks and stuff, so yeah. But anyway, those people then will start with those big projects on client level. So when the client decides, I want to build a 100 million rand shopping mall, I've got the money. 100 rand these days is not a lot, guys. It's not a lot. Matter of fact is, we are safety agents for a client at a game farm. He's building a lodge that has got 9 lodge rooms, 140 million. Yeah. So 100 million is not a lot of money these days.
We're actually sitting with more than 50 files just for Durban
Sure.
for work permits.
Work permit. Now, if it's on that level,
Because to get level, you need a work permit.
you need to work permit. Okay. That's it. 50 million or 60 million?
It's 50 now.
If they brought it down. They're constantly bringing it down. When it came out, it was 13 million, 1-3. And then everybody says, but that's ridiculous. And then they moved it up to, I think, 80 million, and then they're bringing it down. Yeah. So you will get to a stage where you're going to need a safety agent from design phase. So what happens in design phase? Let's quickly look at it. Let's have a look at this building. They've got an aircon there. Okay? In the designer, I've put an aircon there. He doesn't care about safety. It is beautiful. It is functional. It's fantastic. Now the safety officer will come there and say, hey, how are we going to service that thing? Can't we maybe just put a life hook next to it so when I'm on my step ladders, I can just put my safety harness on it? Small things that will make big difference in lives. You understand? Then you will place a safety officer permanently on site for those big projects. Okay. A safety officer must be negotiated according to section construction regulation 8.6, must be negotiated with the client. So your client will come to you and tell you, listen, I need a safety officer on site. Then you tell them, listen, our risk is very low. How can we maybe work around this? How are we going to work around this? Okay. If they say no, that is part of our client specifications, our house rules, like WBHO. WBHO, non-negotiable. Safety officer. Engine, non-negotiable. Okay? Safety officer. So then all that you do with them is you tell them, okay, do you want me to have one a month, once a week, or whatever the case might be? Okay. Good. But a safety officer is then extremely important. Then you will see your risk assessor, your incident investigator. Let's quickly do this here. So what is nice here with this, you can now appoint these people on your, when you build your construction file, your organogram, and see who is then who in the zoo. Okay. There's also then your risk assessor. Your risk assessor is somebody that is competent to do a risk assessment, meaning he's got his safety officer's course. Now, a lot of safety officers doesn't accept it. They want you to revise that section, meaning you need to come for HIRA training, hazard identification, risk assessment training. So we strongly suggest for people, come just for risk assessment, incident investigation training. That helps. So then you do your risk assessor and you do your incident investigator. And then you're going to have your first aiders, your firefighters, all of those team, your first aiders, your firefighters, and you're going to build your risk assessment just as you need it. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about quickly is working at heights. Working at heights training needs to be mentioned on your organogram. So the moment, in the old, also one big change that happened prior to 2014 is that in the old regulation, there was when you started working higher than, 1.8 meters, then you must have a fall protection plan. Now the Act says, Construction Regulation 10 says that if there is any risk of falling. The one day at the hospital that I mentioned is a person has stepped back into a trench. He bumped his head at the back and he passed away. Okay, risk of falling down. okay, into from ground level. So a big, so now what they changed it. That, and we're going to talk about that later, about fall protection plan. But your fall protection plan, people, needs to be mentioned on your organogram. So you'll have your fall protection plan developer. You'll have to have your fall protection plan developer and whoever is, I can't find it now so quickly. There you go. Supervisor, your fall protection plan developer, all of those people needs to be mentioned. 40% of all IODs is due to fall. That's terrible. I must mention this quickly to you guys. This is a little bit of fun. We managed the subcontractors, of contractors there at for Fountain Civil Engineering, for Mr. Des Fountain, and he's at the Scanubia area. And they have trenches, they have excavation there as big as you can drive in it. It is huge. And I thought today I'm going to do induction training inside that excavation. And we stood there, and then I asked these people, 2 people die every day on site. And these people, they don't want to do it. They just look down. They just get it over. They don't like it. I don't know why nobody likes a safety officer. Huh? My one client, I go there, everybody runs. But when the IT guy comes in, everybody goes to him and says, my computer broken. But anyway, so, and I told these guys, 2 people die every day inside. If there's 2 volunteers, I'll take you one side, we kill you, then nobody needs to do this today. Then it's the stats are sorted. Is there any volunteers? And one old man put his hand up. And I said, Baba, what you want to die today? He says, I want to go to Makulukulu. I want to go to God. I said, no, you can't go anywhere. You need to teach these youngsters. Okay, so it's extremely important that your organogram must reflect everybody within your company and your organization. Okay. The next thing that you need to do is now that you've got your employees, you need to say, okay, what is the scope of work? What are we going to do on site? So you're going to have your method statement. Okay? Your method statement, you're going to build up a whole arsenal of method statements in your history, in your life. And I know that you are going to use them and change them and make sure that they are site-specific on your specific site. That is fine, but don't forget to make it site-specific, because your method statement needs to talk to your risk assessment. From your method statement, you're going to take it one step further to your risk assessor. Look at the one that in your leaflet. Let's quickly go there. Look at the one there. There's a method statement for painting of a house. We've got the equipment there, the competency needed, the responsible people. What are you going to do before you go on site? How are you going to do your work? And what are you going to do afterwards? This is a very good opportunity for you to tell your client exactly what you're going to do. You need to put thought in this. Okay? So that when your when your client looks at this, he says, okay, you're going to come in at 8 o'clock. You're going to put your stock there. You're going to then report to this person. You understand? If you can, go to that detail. Okay? It really impresses your client. Okay? We, as a client that does safety files for you, it's extremely difficult for us to go to that depth. Okay? Without that knowledge. Good. Now you will see this manual that I gave you guys. It says there in the bottom, signed by management, signed by appointees. Guys, oh my goodness gracious. It's got to be implemented. You've got to communicate it. Now, a lot of people come to me and say, man, we've been doing this job now for 30 years. Do you guys, if you can pull the stats from the Department of Labor, the highest risk people is the people that have done the job for 30 years.
You become
complacent. You've done it so many times. And the first thing that people do when they see, when an incident happens, you know what that is? The first thing that people say when the incident happened is, now I did a stupid thing. Because nobody goes in to get injured. So please make sure that you get that to that you remind them. The method statement is a place where you can stop, think about it, and remind your people how to do it. Then, number 7, is the risk assessor. There's your painting of your ceiling and your method, your matrix. Good. Risk assessment. Let's quickly have a look. It's painting of a house. Now guys, painting of a house is actually, or any risk assessment, it's got a couple of elements that we need to look at. For example, the first thing that we need to know, you've got to have a heading. What is this all about? What's the task there? You can see there is painting of a house. Then inside that house, we've got various of activities. For example, you're going to come in. What are you going to do? The first thing that you're going to do is prepare the walls. Second thing that you're going to do is sand down the walls. Third thing you're going to do is start painting the undercoat. Third thing is going to paint the top coat, and so on and so on and so on. The last thing is cleaning. Now, what you need to understand is that every risk assessment is built out of activities. Okay, so get your activities, understand your activities. To build a risk assessment, you must understand your activities. So you tell the people, just like in your risk assessment, you said, we are parking at reception at this area and we offload. Then you put there, entering client site and offloading. That's your first activity. And then you say, what is my hazards? What is my risk? What is the hazards? What is the risk? Let's quickly define, what is the difference between a hazard and a risk? Who did HIRA training? Okay, good. Our hazard, let's talk about that dangerous dog again. Okay? A dangerous dog is walking in the road. Is that dog hazardous? Yes. He can do something to you. Okay? He can hurt you. What is the risk? Meaning, what is the injury? What is the risk attached to him? Well, he can bite you. He can give you fleas. He's got rabies. All those different things that a dog can give you. Okay? So, a hazard on its own with no human interference is harmless. Like that dog walking there behind the gate, closed gate, it's harmless. But the moment that there's human interference, risk is involved. Okay. So, for example, scaffolding there on its own, harmless. But it is hazardous. Why? The moment you put a man to it, the risk is you can fall from it. Make sense? In 2 weeks' time, we're going to do a training just on risk assessment and how to compile your risk assessment. But it's extremely important that you must see, understand that your risk assessment is built out of activities. You have to grade your risk. You have to put your controls in place. Yes, sir.
Just to bully you a little bit, and continuously bully you. When we're speaking about the risks and hazards, what is important that you need to do is you need to go to your section 1 of the Act, even your section 1 of the construction regulation as well, to define for you
Yes.
what a risk is and what a hazard is.
Yes.
Because even in the definition of the Act itself, those are the most paramount words that come out. Because that is what you are trying to prevent, risks and hazards that
Yeah.
are attached to your activities. So it's very important that you understand those two words and how they intertwine within the Act, right? That is number 1. And number 2 also, that I have with that one, when you're doing your risk assessment, and I mean you mentioned this,
Yeah.
when you are magnifying your risks,
Yes.
you need to be specific, because part of the definition of a risk assessment is about the magnitude of a risk.
Yeah.
And you can't complete your risk assessment without knowing how to magnitude your risks. And be specific on that, on how you magnify or magnituding it, if there's a word like that.
Magnituding, what do you mean by making it bigger?
Make sure that you understand how you put a rating into a specific risk.
Yeah.
And why you put that
Bigger,
risk.
smaller risk.
Exactly, yeah. Because part of that definition, if I say now let's define risk assessment, the word magnitude will definitely come out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, magnitude meaning how do you grade it?
How do yes.
We use a process where we grade it before implementing of controls and grade it after implementing of controls. Okay. And
And sorry, you'd be surprised why I'm raising this issue. When we read some risk assessment, you'll cry. You'll cry. Tears of sorrow. You will cry because they do this activity that Gert has just mentioned, the cut and paste type of activity, where a person doesn't now proofread whatever they issue to us, and becomes a problem, becomes a challenge. Because now they give you a document here. This document does not start here. It starts here.
yeah.
This page carries everything, because in order for me to carry on page 2 and page 3, we've mentioned here that you have a number 1, which talks to a insufficient risk, or whatever that word is, that small word that needs glasses, you see, and then number 2, so on and so forth. So that is important. You can't just have something with me to say, okay, blah, 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 risk is number 2. What is number 2? What does its significance? What does it say? That risk assessment is not complete. And when we give you non-conformities, it's going to be as if the inspector was being difficult. But it's actually you that didn't follow everything that has to do with that specific area.
You will find that if the Department of Labour comes to your premises, not construction site as such, the first thing that they'll ask for is show me your risk assessment. Okay, show me your risk assessment, because your risk assessment defines who you are as a company. It defines your tasks, it defines your actions, it defines your controls on that actions. And a lot of times I've seen people put controls in there that is actually so fantastic it makes me cry. But there's no way that that client can actually do it. It is just over and above, especially when it comes to falling. They're going to get cranes and lifelines and stuff in there. Guys, it's copy and paste exercise that. Okay. Now, I'm a big fan of saving documents. Part of the whole exercise is to save documents, because you can reuse it, but watch out for the copy and paste. Okay. Good. It's then extremely important, okay, that once you've got your risk assessment in place, that you can also have your employees with the matrix, that they can sign it, okay? They must sign that risk assessment. That is once again an opportunity where you can stop, look at your, take your employees and say, guys, let's quickly just run through this. And a lot of people come to me and say, listen, we've been doing this for 30 years. That is just a place where you can teach them. It's not to teach them, it is to remind them of the new hazards on that site. Now we're not only going to work on scaffolding, we're going to only work on cherry pickers or whatever the case might be. Okay. Toyota, if you work anything higher than 1.5 meters, you need a cherry picker. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of people that does various of things which you actually have to make sure. We have people, it's important that you look at the client will give you a risk assessment like this, okay? The baseline, the client will give you a risk assessment. Inside that risk assessment, it will tell you the controls that they want. Like Toyota's control is, they want a cherry pick at 1.5 meters. If you're going to work on higher than that, you have to make that your control. We had people coming to us and say, Gert, we tendered for a project to clean gutters. I'm thinking of one client now. They clean gutters at the big building. And now suddenly they throw them off site because they want a safety officer, 24-hour safety officer on site while they work there. And it is now they can't make money out of it. And when we went back, we looked at the client spec. It's in the client spec. He never quoted for it. Okay. So watch out for that trap. And that guy eventually just did it for his good reputation.
1.5 meters is not very high, right?
No, it's nothing.
I mean, I'm 1.5 meters.
Yeah, it's me just.
I'm not short.
That is very short.
Yeah.
Easy now,
Okay, guys, I love the fact from after risk assessment, it tells us that we eventually end up with a whole list of controls. So you've got safe working procedures, you've got appointments that needs to be done, you've got formal training that needs to be done. Now you need to, once you said we're going to do induction training, we're going to teach the people on safe working procedure, you need to have that document. You need to train your people or remind them. I hate the word training, it's just to remind them because you've got competent employees. And then you need to sign register and prove to your client, listen, here's what we said we're going to do, we have done it. There's nothing worse than putting in a risk assessment, this is what we're going to do, but you're not doing it. If you have not done this, and this is a very important message, by default you've incriminated yourself. If you say you're going to install a lifeline and flying choppers and whatever the case might be, and it's not there, and an incident happens, by default you're guilty. That is one of the biggest risks for outsourcing safety files. Okay, so all my safety officers, I told them I want minimum compliance. Minimum compliance. Everything that we put in there is minimum compliance to get you on site, and then you can be over compliant, which then it will look like you are a good person. Okay, so watch out for that. Good. So you have identified SOPs. Look at the SOPs, guys. You can, you for example have got welding. So you need a SOP for welding. You have got whatever the case might be. You use band saws, you have forklifts, you have bench grinders. You must have SOPs and for every single activity, safe operating procedures. And then you will have, from your safe operating procedures, you will have safe working procedures. Now, a lot of people ask me, Gert, what is the difference between the two? Safe operating is machine. How do we work this machine? Okay. Has it got wheels, you operate it. If it's got electricity, you operate it. It's operating a certain thing. Working procedure is when there's a certain task that needs to be done. Okay, so like excavation. You need to do a whole excavation. Okay, how are we going to do everything from excavation? Your safe working procedure goes hand in hand with your method statement. Okay, so you can actually just take your headings there, put it in there. A lot of people like to take the safe working procedures, put a little tick box on the one side, and then it converts it to a job observation, safe job observation. Okay, which is nice. Really like that. Good. Then your safety plan. Now listen to this. There's something that I personally not fond of in tender processes. They ask you for your safety plan. You don't even know what you're going to do yet. You understand? Once you know what you're going to do, now you know who you're going to send, you know who you're going to use, you know what the risk is, you know what the controls is. Now you need to answer to your client that this is how we're going to do it. And that is inside your safety plan. So a safety plan is an answer to your client specifications. So if he says you need to have, like engine, you need to have a first aider from your first employee, then you put there underneath first aider, these are all our criteria that we go through there, medical first aid, there's number 23. You write there, we will have a first aider from our very first employee, or you say we don't have a first aider, please can we appoint one of your people. Okay. If you're going to work at heights, you're not going to work at heights, but there is a section of working at heights at your client, then you need to note that no task will be done at working at heights, all on ground level. So you can see how you answer to your client. Okay. We use then I'm a safety plan. I've jumped one here. But anyway, we answer then 49 elements in making sure that we actually cover then everything in there. Okay. Good.
Just one emphasis on the health and safety plan. Whether you are the contractor or the principal contractor, if you are the principal contractor and it's not endorsed by your client, it's null and void. If you are a contractor and it's not endorsed by the principal contractor, it's null and void.
Yes. It's got to be approved by the person above you. It's got to be approved by the person above you. So if you're the principal contractor, your client needs to approve it. Okay. Of course, he's ultimately responsible. you will find a lot of safety officers that
only
only
audit the principal contractor. They don't care about the subbies. That is your job then as a principal contractor. Okay. If they do care about the subbies and they do audit the subbies, you're on a good side. You must see it as a plus and not as a negative. Okay, they care about you. You should go into all safety audits. By guys, today I'm going to show you. This is how we do it. Okay, a safety file is an opportunity for you to tell your safety officer or to tell the client or to tell the Department of Labor or to tell that smart young lawyer that you are a good company. Okay, that's what it's all about. And not I told you so, I can show you so. Okay, good. I skipped one accidentally there. Let's quickly go to the fall protection plan. A fall protection plan, guys. Construction Regulation 10, fall protection plan. See, no section there. Yeah. It's got to be done. Construction Regulation 10.1 says it's got to be done by a person that is competent regarding fall protection plan. There is a course, fall protection plan developer, that you can follow to do that. Some people like WBHO, I know for example, fact, they do not accept fall protection plan if it's not been done by somebody that is registered with the Institute for Working at Heights. Why is there such a big emphasis on fall? Because 40% of all deaths are due to falling. Okay. Big change. It's not 1.8 anymore. It's now from any risk of falling. So firstly, you've got to be a competent person. That to be registered with the Institute for Working at Heights. That course is a 4-day course. There's only a handful of companies in South Africa that is accredited to do that. Unfortunately, FTS is not one of them. And then it needs to have a risk assessment attached to that. It needs to have a rescue plan. How can you, if something goes wrong, how can you rescue that person? It must have appointed a site supervisor. 8.1 must, you see the most important person on site, the 8.1, must have the latest copy there because he's going to need to answer questions if something goes wrong. Everybody must be trained in your fall protection plan. Okay? All equipment must be up to date and inspected. Guys, you cannot load test a safety harness. There's no such thing. Okay? A safety harness comes with a certificate that says that it's valid. It goes out of validation when it fails an inspection, am I correct? When it fails inspection, meaning the harness is starting, the fiber is starting to pull apart. Or secondly, when you used it. Okay? Or when it exceeds 5 years. Now, nowhere in the Act it says 5 years. No in SAM's regulation it says 5 years. This is an Australian guideline that is commonly being used by clients in South Africa. 5 years. Okay. But as long as you got that certificate that this fall protection harness comes with, you file it, you're fine. Don't lose it. Okay. Good. Because you can't get another one. You can't retest it. You can't test it. How do you test the harness? You have to pull it, then it's used. Okay. Good. A fall protection plan is vital. Toolbox talks. Guys, I love toolbox talks. Simple reason why I love toolbox talks is because you can talk to the people on the field. That's actually what the safety is designed for. Did you know that? Safety is not designed for managers and business owners. Safety is designed for the guy that does the work. We have actually turned it around and say, I'm going to protect myself because I don't want to go to jail. No. It's not designed for you. It's designed for the employees. As long as you can just show reasonable person that you try to train them and educate them and make sure they're competent. And the toolbox talk is the most effective way of doing it. Okay. Love toolbox talks. Talk to your people. Guys, just remember, you can ask for everything in life. It's just how do you ask for it? I have seen people going in toolbox talks where they are crying because they know they're going to get written warnings. They are going to be, people is going to jump on them. Their boots is not shining, all of that thing. Guys, you must rather than telling the people, why are you not wearing your hard hat? You know that you're going to die. No. You tell them, listen guys, have you got a wife at home? Have you got a child at home? Who's going to look after them when you die? Okay. Watch out for that. It's a big problem in construction. I have actually chased off one guy I can remember clearly here in Umhlanga, where he says, where you come from, there's a lot of people standing in the queue. I said, get off my side. Okay. I don't want people like that. Treating him, the most important person, the construction worker, like that. Good. Chemicals. How's your chemical management? I had a site burned down last week. I'll show you pictures. I had a site burned down last week. The first thing that Department of Labour have asked for and the forensics is show me your chemicals register. You must have a register of all your chemicals. Chemicals is a reason for fires. Okay, chemicals and electricity. Electricity is actually more. But how do you manage your chemicals? Is your employees exposed to your chemicals? There's a whole list. What chemicals are you used? Are they used correctly? What is the health impact? Is medical provision made for the exposure to the chemicals? Are the chemicals stored correctly? Are chemicals secure and safe stored away from the public? Are you equipped for possible spills? Now, all of that information will be in your MSDSs. You just need to comply. Okay, so get your material safety data sheets, make sure you know how to manage it, and work accordingly. Okay. Then you can start print. Now, up until there, guys, if you have a look at my screen, you'll see there, up until there, we have now set up our file. We know exactly what we are going to do now. Okay, the documents that has to change is now changed. Our risk assessment is now site-specific. Our policy, our fall protection plan and our toolbox talks, everything has been selected, and our employees that do specific for that site. Okay, now we can start printing the file. The documents that will not change is, for example, your company documents, like your letter of good standing, your VAT clearance, your public liability. So those things, so you can start printing them, and then you can just work through your file or your index that you've received from your client. And then you can go say, okay, number one, they want policies. Okay, then you just jump to number and you print your policies. Okay, you can say, okay, then number two will most probably be my toolbox talk. Then you can go to all your toolbox talks, or you can go to your registers, your inspections, whatever the section is that they want. Okay, printing your safety file must be in order so that your client can see, hey, you've put some effort in it. Okay, nothing looks so bad in like quickly going to Google and I need something for PPE and go and get it there and paste it there, but the font and everything is different. Then people know, okay, this guy, how long did he take? Okay, developing your internal safety management program extends to your construction sites. Okay, extends to your construction sites. Now, if you have a look in our document, I just quickly want to go through there. Policies, guys, there's a lot of policies. You're going to build up policies in your life, health and safety, environmental, substance abuse, HIV. So HIV is quite important, eh? It's legislated HIV policy. So put your HIV policy in there. Disciplinary, revision policies, vehicle policies, environmental policies. There's so many of them that you can actually go and view. Okay. Lockout, tag out if you're electricity and so on. So POPI Act. The POPI Act is big. Have you got a POPI Act policy? How do you manage, how do you prove confidentiality of your employees' IDs? Understand? So you need to have agreement with your client. I'm giving this to you. Sign here that you will also use it as confidential. You understand? All of those things. There's a lot of stuff, work permits and so on, that you are going to have. Good. There's our policies. Good. Then you will have procedures and plans and all of those things. You will have various of procedures and plans that you need to do. Procedures like emergency evacuation. How do you travel? If you've got on the public road, procedure for offloading inside the public load area. There's so many things that you can then look for from there. Make sure that your policies is then also specific. And then when you print your file, you can, it's useless if it's not signed. Okay, if it's not implemented. Meaning nobody knows actually what stands in it, but you that compiled it. Okay, so please take the time. I use it when the people tell me how long is this going to take me to implement, and then they say, well, we've got 10 employees. I said, that's a good hour and a half. Okay, to implement it correctly. But with that said and done, your people is, if you do it on every site, now you can start duplicating. For example, your safe working, your policy communication. Your policy is for the company sheet policy. Have your registers signed for the year and just put it in there. Do you understand? It makes it easier and quicker then also. Good. Any questions? Guys, this was like a rush. I haven't said, I have to, sometimes I feel, no, let me keep this away, because we can literally, as Mthobisi said, we can keep you guys busy for hours. This is actually, you know what I like about safety? If I could, I would stand up now. You know what I like about safety? It's the only profession where I can go to a man like that and I can say, Mthobisi, I love you. Please don't die on me. Okay? It's the only profession. Try that in finances. Mthobisi, I love you. Please pay your bills. No, it doesn't work. You understand? So please make safety is one of the most powerful tools that management can use, because the moment that your employees see you care, they start performing better. Okay. Mthobisi, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to say something. First of all, I've got two questions that I want to ask the House. But before I want to ask those questions, because it's going to take you time, should you guys experience any problems, or you want any advice or any clarity on what you spoke about, or even the act, you can take my number down and my email address as well. The number is 060 994 6095. You will realize that all the inspectors' numbers will have a 99 type of number. So it will be 06099, and it's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the rest of the numbers will change. But it will have that. Right? And the email address is Mthobisi, MTHOBISI dot MADLALA at labour.gov.za.
I will make sure I email it to you guys.
So should you want clarity on anything, you can just drop me an email, or you can do anything.
Thank you, guys.
But I want to ask a question. First question is construction. In construction, are you vetted to have a health and safety policy? Question number one. Are you vetted to have a health and safety policy? Point number two, who's responsible for notifying the Department of Labor for construction? Bye-bye.
Must you have a health and safety policy?
Yes.
That's a no. That face says no. It's a trick question.
Section 7 of the OSH Act says, Section 7 of the OSH Act says that you need, if you are informed by Department of Labour to have one, you must have one.
Oh wow.
Why do we give one? Because it's in your face.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Second question.
It says that all employees that are in the Gazette, and construction is not in the Gazette.
Everybody's in the position. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And then who's responsible for notifying for construction work?
Yeah, who's responsible for notifying construction? When do we need to notify Department of Labour of construction work? You get notifications and you get permit work. Permit work we spoke about is 60 million and above, it's
you don't have my email
I don't
address,
think you told us that.
Now, so if you don't know, you just tell Mthobisi Talk. I promise you, I tried this before when I'm with different safety officers. They're fighting with me. I said, no, Mthobisi said it's not like it. Oh, okay. It's like a magic word.
I was never here, I'm gone. The person that is responsible for notifying, obviously if you notifying is the responsibility of the principal contractor. Right? So if you are appointed as a principal contractor, you should notify. Regardless if there is a permit or not. Regardless of the permit, because who deals with the permit is the client and the agent, not you as a principal contractor. The principal contractor does not deal with the permit. All right?
But his details will be in the permit.
Yeah, obviously, as a principal contractor.
As a competent contractor. Now, the notification happens when you're working at heights, when you demolish, when you...
Double-story house.
Yeah, working at heights.
Yes. Yeah, working at heights, we don't have a measurement. When you're doing excavation work, we don't have a depth.
Yeah.
When you're doing
Excavation, heights,
demolitions, when
and
you are
demolition.
constructing, when you are doing alterations, all of that is regarded as construction work. Look at your definition in there. And also a definition that is very important to you so that you understand. Go back to section 1, which is definitions of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Look at reasonably practicable. Reasonably practicable. To tell you what is reasonably practicable. If you don't fall under those, I think there's 4 of them, 4 points, then you are not reasonably practicable. Then also I cannot consider an activity that you've done to be reasonably practicable if you do not follow those 4 elements. Okay?
Guys?
Thank you very much. We did say that we could be here the whole day.
That's for sure.
I just, before you go, our whole aim for today was just to make it, to entice you guys, to show you that although it is your responsibility to make sure your employees are safe, it is not rocket science. You've got the knowledge. And somebody like me and Mthobisi, what we can do is we can just guide you so that you have the correct documents, so when you stand in a court of law, that the people, that it can actually protect you. Okay, it can actually protect you, and not that you can say, but what would a reasonable person have done is at least get a decent register and get a decent safe working procedure. And once you are set up, you should be able to fly from it. Okay, good.
I'm amazed that there's more ladies here than men. Have you
You
noticed?
Yeah, can I tell you why? Because ladies are better with it than men. Because it's admin.
It's very intensive.
Yeah. It's part of the reason why we develop software is because we want to take that admin and just make it a little bit easier. It's just becoming so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.